Oh yeah, and Psycho.
I'm just a sick man living in a sick land, choking on the smoke of a billboard romance. Anybody know where the pigs put my cocoa? Change them plates on a pot of blue soda. No, it ain't Johnny Green Tea. Not till the gun hits number 3. I'm sick on sick shit, it's just like me.
Never forgotten. This is the anthem for this sick and rotten. Never forgotten.
So Halloween 2 picks up right after the original left off. Michael has just been shot by Loomis and he's just fallen off of the back porch deck thing on the house. And so it opens with Loomis running out of the house and after he has just noticed that he isn't there. And I do actually think this was a pretty solid intro, although like this movie wasn't even supposed to happen like at all. So like it surprises me how smoothly it transitions into the next one because like there was never supposed to be another one in the first place. So but yeah, no
with that intro, it's just kind of going right in there. I think the very first shot, because it does like a recap doing the very end. Yeah. I think the very first shot of the new one is Michael actually falling out because you didn't see like that
you hear
angle
the gunshots.
of you hear the gunshots and then you see a different angle of Michael falling out, which I thought that they kind of improved the angle and just how they kind of did him falling off and everything. But then like even though I think this is a solid intro, there was 2 different moments that I laughed while watching this beginning. The first being because in the original, he looks down and like Michael's gone. He's like, oh, and so with this they like kind of do that again, where he comes down and he looks. And there's literally like a body print, and it looks more than just a body print. It kind of looks like they spray painted like a body print.
It kind of does, actually.
So it's just like, is he that heavy that he's just gonna make this huge indent? It's just kind of funny. I don't know why they felt the need to have this body print. Like it was definitely more than just the grass was pushed down. Yeah. It was literally like darker.
Well, because at the very end of the first movie, like you can see the imprint, but when he goes down there, it looks like they they like put something there and like I don't know. Yeah.
And then the second point where there's not really any jokes in this movie. I don't think there's any jokes, at least. There's some like goofier like kind of things that they don't expect you to take seriously, but there's not actual jokes.
No.
But there's probably 3 different moments that I laughed out loud during this. That one being the first like kind of chuckle. The second one being one of the bigger ones was when Lewis goes down and he's like, Michael's gone, and he's like running around or whatever. Yeah, he goes and talks like the neighbor's just like, what's going on? And he's just like, Michael, whatever he says.
Call
like,
the police.
Yeah, call the police. And he's just like, oh, what's going on? He's like, he says something about death.
Yeah, he's like,
the neighbor does.
He's like, been trick-or-treated to death tonight. And then he's like,
oh, yeah.
You don't know what death is.
Yeah, he's just like, you don't know what death is. And then there's a music cue for him to like turn around. And the song's good. But you swear that the actor literally heard the music cue because he's just like, you don't know what death is. And it's like the goofiest, like sudden, like, and then he just kind of
Donald Pleasance, man.
He just kind of like moves around funny as he's running.
Yeah.
His performance in the whole like franchise is great. It's just that moment where it's just so funny. It's just like there's the music like duh, and then he's just like right at the duh. It's like the way he acts is like he heard it in the distance. He's like the music is Michael. He's like because he doesn't just like you don't know what death is and turn around. He does like a.
I can't say I've ever laughed out loud like really in any of these movies. Like I mean until like the later sequels that we won't really be talking about today. But there is in the earlier sequels, I've never really like laughed out loud, but there's always been those little moments that I kind of just accept because it's just like whatever. And I feel like that's one of them. It's like I watch it and I've always kind of noticed the way he turns around is just kind of goofy looking, but I've never really like thought about its comedy, I guess.
I just immediately laughed. It was just I thought it was pretty funny.
And then the whole intro happens, which is really cool. I do like the sort of they do the traditional from the original, the zooming in on the pumpkin, but it's like it like opens up and splits,
Yeah.
and then you see like the skull behind it. I think that's a really cool intro, and the score is really good by John Carpenter. I think, and then I do like that they jump just right after the intro. They jump right into the first person camera as he's walking
Yeah.
down. Now it just brings back the original feel again, and that's kind of it was a good way to transition from one movie to the next. And I'll usually only watch the first movie, but I feel like if I were to there's certain times where I kind of want to watch them both back to back because it does feel like it's the same night. Like it feels really like a genuine
Just how
transition.
it picks up right there. Everything kind of has the same exact look to it. The one thing that I thought was kind of funny is this movie came out 3 years later, but it's the same exact night, and they in their little intro they showed the exact same footage of the previous movie showing Laurie Jamie Lee Curtis, and then they have Jamie Lee Curtis being carted out. And you can tell that she's older.
Oh yeah,
it's
you
just
can
like
tell
wow,
she's
she
older,
really
and
aged
she's
in like
also
30 minutes.
She's also wearing a wig.
Oh yeah, she is.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
She's in the whole movie. She's wearing a wig because I think this
that
is
sounds
after she
surprising.
had cut her hair.
Yeah.
And so like they had to have a wig on
That's
her,
funny.
and you can tell like the wig has a totally different color. But
Yeah.
I mean, I guess it is what it is.
It was just funny because it's
Yeah.
like you aged 3 years in 30 minutes.
Yep,
and,
yep.
Just the way she got carted off, and like throughout the film, you kind of get used to it, and then you don't really think about it. Just that initial shot,
It-
and I
because
honestly,
it's jarring. It's
Yeah,
like-
I honestly think I wouldn't have like noticed that, but they literally just showed you that. There's like here's a comparison of the difference.
Yeah. They show you the intro or the end of the first movie in the intro, and it's just like moments later you see her. Yeah.
But then it goes on to Michael, doing his
thing, sneaking into Mrs. Elrod's house and taking her knife and leaving a little bit of blood. And
one thing that I thought was almost pointless, like I didn't necessarily have a problem, I'm just kind of curious, because like he takes the knife from that lady and then just disappears. He doesn't kill him or anything, he just takes it and leaves, which I thought it was pretty cool. But then it goes to that like other girl that's just on the phone,
yeah,
and it kind of seems like the vibe I got, I was like, okay, is this girl kind of like be one of the stars of this one, introduce another character because it's a sequel, but no, she's literally there just to die.
yeah.
And
And then this was post Friday the 13th. So
Yeah.
John Carpenter said, like when he was like writing the script, he wrote this script in like a night. He said he wrote it with a 6-pack of beer and in one night, and it was just like, okay, this is, people want the sequel. This is what I'm doing. And so like I think he stated that, or at least the producers or something stated that because of Friday the 13th coming out that year, the year before, they had to kind of compete a little bit, and so you got to up the body count and up the gore a little bit. So that's why this one's significantly more gory and
yeah, that's one thing that I would say is probably one of its lower points is
Yeah.
the fact that it's like you can tell that people are like, this is a slasher.
Yeah.
We're making a slasher. We need to kill more people.
It
because
wasn't
it's
like
a
genre
slasher.
starting.
Whereas the very first Halloween, they were just making a movie. They're just telling a story.
Yeah.
It wasn't like, hey, this is a slasher. Watch this because it's a slasher. But then Halloween 2, the time of Friday the 13th and everything,
Yep.
they're like, it's a slasher. You're watching it because it's a slasher. It's
Yeah.
like, how about I'm just watching it because it's a good story?
Yeah.
Well,
It's kind of odd how that is, and I agree that is one of its lowest points is trying to up the body count, because what it does is we'll kind of jump forward because to the hospital, because that's kind of where things are happening in the movie.
that's like the next point.
Yeah, so like the hospital, it kind of like, I do like the setting, and they do a lot of really interesting and really cool looking shots in the movie. Like it is very well lit, just like the original.
Yeah.
But I do think having upped the body count and everything, it like you're having to focus on other characters now while they die, and you take away from Laurie as a character.
That's true.
And it was just really weird. I don't know.
And they didn't really explain like as to like how she knew something was up. It was just like, it's fine that she kind of just had a feeling, but they didn't really focus on that. It was just like, okay, you're as the audience, you're kind of just like, I'm guessing she's having a feeling, instead of them kind of
Oh.
more spending a little bit more time. She's
He's-
just like, for some reason, knows something's up.
Yeah, he's like definitely alive or something.
But the one thing with her in the hospital that I think is kind of funny is that the ambulance, the EMT guy, that he doesn't actually know her, but he's befriending
They
her or
have like a
whatever.
little moment. Yeah, a
Yeah,
couple
it
of
seems
little moments.
like
they know each other, but they don't.
because he's like it makes sense because he just like recognizes her, and it would kind of make sense for him to like actually know her, and that's why he's breaking procedure and he's going in her room and he's talking to her. But it seems like the only reason he's doing that is he thinks she's hot or something.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, which I'm
he's just
pretty
like,
sure that's what it
I
is.
want to bone you, so
Yeah. This is what's happening.
And then also this whole time he's an EMT. She's like 17. She's in high school.
Yeah.
But yet he's an EMT. What's the age difference we got going on here? Is he being like a creep right now?
Yeah,
Like what's
yeah,
going on?
Exactly. No, and I'm if I remember right, kind of cuts over to Loomis after he has been picked up by Sheriff Brackett, and they are sort of patrolling, trying to find Michael. They don't know where he is. And it leads to the moment that I feel like it's another one of those moments that I talked about, kind of just accepting for what it is, even though it is kind of silly.
This
and
was
that is the
I-
one that you said you laughed at.
I laughed so hard.
So-
I didn't laugh so hard until you find out who it is.
Yeah.
But you can go and explain the scene.
Well, so yeah, Loomis and Brackett are kind of like walking around and kind of patrolling the streets and stuff like that, and they think they see Michael, or at least Loomis does, and so the one who's Michael is Ben Tramer from the first movie, who was like he had a crush on Laurie, and Laurie kind of had a little thing for him too, but so for some reason they have him be Ben Tramer, and there's this whole scene where he's like, the way it's set up too is like, it's so like, you talked about it and you brought it up to me, and I totally didn't even think about it. It's the same night, okay? So why does he have the mask from Halloween as if it's like a pop culture icon already?
He has the
and
same-
he already has the costume. He has the
coveralls
coveralls for some reason. Yeah, so it doesn't make sense, but at the same time, it's funny.
It's fine that they did it, but it's like, that's kind of odd. And then it's just like, what was his thinking? Like, I'm gonna be William Shatner, the mechanic.
with a mechanic. Yeah. So yeah, he's got his little trick or treat bag, and he's running down the street, and like they're chasing
how they
him.
chase him, and the way he's just like
'Cause
kind
he
of
doesn't know what's
scooting
happening,
along.
Isn't it what's happening?
Yeah.
And so he kind of like scoots along, and then for some reason, just like the cop car comes out of nowhere and just smacks him into, and like just pins
Some
him in
van,
between
yeah.
a van and him, and then
And
they're
lights
like,
on fire.
lights on fire, and they just leave him there. And then
explodes
Sheriff
and
Brackett
everything.
asks the number one question: was it him? Well, maybe you could have confirmed that first before running this poor kid over. Considering it's Halloween and people are dressing up, then again, maybe like they acknowledge that it has to be Michael because he's dressed up in the jumpsuit and everything. Maybe it has to be Michael in their eyes, because why would they have a costume of his costume? It's like
But
they
then
acknowledge it, but the movie
Dr.
doesn't.
Lewis just looks at him a little bit longer while he's on fire. He's like, nah, it's not him.
Well, then they take him back, and then like, they realize it's not him when they do the dental
Yeah,
work or whatever.
that was
Like,
the
it's not
part
him.
where I started cracking up laughing, because it's like, it's Ben Tramer. I was like, oh my god.
But yeah,
The fact that they're just like, he's just a mention of a crush, and they're just like, let's make it somebody, like, it's not just some random kid. The fact that they go and there's like, it's Ben Tramer.
Yeah.
It's like, Laurie's had this like the shittiest night of her life.
Yeah.
She almost got murdered. All of her friends got murdered. You know, maybe the highlight is she has a crush on a boy. Maybe she can reconnect with him. Nope, because Michael didn't kill him. The cops just fucking annihilated him with
no
the van.
love story for her. No happily ever after.
Like,
for
it
her.
wasn't just like oh, he's dead. No, the cops just plowed him. He's
Yeah.
dead. Sorry.
Yeah, that's it.
He got ran over. That probably killed him. But then, you know, he did get set on fire as well. So, sorry,
Whatever.
Lori.
Yeah. Nah.
Literally all your friends are dead now because of Michael and the cops.
And the cops. Yeah. So then, cut back to the hospital, and I think that's for the most part that's pretty much where the rest of the movie
kind of
takes
starts
place.
going through Michael going to the
He
hospital.
goes to the hospital, and he's kind of roaming the streets. He goes to the hospital, and he goes and he kills that security guard with the hammer.
I thought that was one of the cooler kills that I've seen in slashers period.
Yeah, no, it was a really cool kill because it's kind of building the tension because you know Michael's probably around, but you don't know when he's gonna pop up. So like he just randomly shows up and it's just whack.
Close the door, and then the fact that it's the teeth of the hammer.
Yeah,
it's not
you
just
see it
the
go
hammer.
into his head. Yeah, that was a really cool effect.
That was a pretty like
definitely.
the way they did that. It looked like his head. So.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. And then there's the what is his name? He's always cracked me up. The one guy
Is he
who
the other
works,
EMT guy, or
yes,
the one who was trying to have sex with the
Yeah.
nurse?
Yeah.
I don't remember what his name was, but he's just the other EMT guy.
He's so funny to me. I don't know. He's like the comic
He was-
relief of the movie.
He
He's-
seemed like such a creep. Like,
It's so funny though. I don't know. I think so they go into the spa or whatever, you know, and then meanwhile Lori's just
hydrotherapy or something like
in
that.
her room.
Hydrotherapy tub.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Lori's just in her room. She's just a side character at this point. And
I guess EMT guys are just horny
They're
little
just-
fuckers.
yeah,
like
they
he's
just-
just like, I'm gonna fuck this nurse, and then the other guy's like, yeah, I'm gonna go fuck a
well, then
minor.
you can tell they know each other because like they're
Yeah.
like they're in and out of there, and you can tell he knows the girl. And then
Yeah.
they go set up their little date in the spa. And then one of the coolest kills of the entire franchise, in my opinion, is maybe even of slashers ever for me at least, is the kill coming up here where the
Is it him or the girl?
the girl. I think it's a really cool kill.
It was kind of cool how just like he's just getting murdered in the background.
and she's just kind of doing whatever, and then like, and then I love the shot of him walking up to her, and then he like puts his hand on her, and then she like thinks it's the guy or whatever, and then like it's Michael. It's just super cool, and then he just like puts her head in the hot tub and just burns her face. It was a really neat creative kill, I think. Having we talked about the weakest point of the movie, kind of. I have a weaker point, but the one of the weakest points was the upping the body count because it kind of pulled the movie down. But there was some neat kills in here though, for sure.
At the same time, while I think it lowered the quality of the movie, it made it a little bit more exciting. It made it like it's a different type of entertainment. It made it entertaining rather than invested story. It's just like I was excited throughout the movie more than I was with the previous movie, whereas the previous movie is more about that slow build, like it's creepy, it's got a lot of things going for it. Whereas this was just like have some fun.
Yeah, definitely. No, and then he kills both of them, and then now pretty much for the most part everybody's out of the way now. So now he can go take out Laurie, I guess. And so I know John Carpenter didn't want to, like I said in the beginning, he didn't want to make the sequel, but he did bring in the whole aspect of them being siblings because he wanted to sort of do something that would shock people. And even he's regretted it till today. Like that, he said it was dumb. It gave him a motive, and that takes away a lot of the scare factor of it, because like the whole thing is like Michael Myers is this force of nature that can be coming to you, can come after you, and it's a random sort of freak thing. And when you have them be siblings, it's like, oh, so he's after her because they're brother and sister, okay, and he's trying to finish off the bloodline or whatever. And it was just it sort of waters down the movie for me. I think that's my biggest issue with the movie. I totally understand that became the iconic thing. I get that, but for me, I as a fan of the original and a majority of the sequels, I'll say that kind of that brings the movie down a little bit for me.
I think and also the kind of reasoning of how he didn't know, like Dr. Loomis didn't know, it's just like, oh, the state withheld that file. It's like, why? Like they didn't actually explain why. They're just like, wonder why. Oh well.
Yeah, like why would they withhold that? Like, why would
that
it
just
matter?
seemed kind of weird.
I get it. Like maybe they want to like cover it up so Laurie can like stay, sort of like she doesn't not to have that connection and everything with her past, but like.
I don't think the file would be covered up though.
No, I don't think so. I don't know how they do things really, but I mean, I just don't think that would really happen unless she was asked to, or unless they were asked to keep it
Yeah.
covered, which I don't know if they say that in the movie or not, but
Yeah.
But yeah.
That was a little odd. And then we go back to the hospital with Michael killing people. And then one of the deaths that doesn't really make any sense at all, but, it's kind of cool, is the nurse in the hallway where...
Oh, it's a great scene, but it doesn't
Michael
make sense.
has the little scalpel.
Uh-huh.
He just stabs her and then picks her up with this tiny little scalpel that literally would have just snapped with that much weight.
Yeah.
And the fact...
I like the shoes falling.
Yeah. Because you got several different things going on here. The scalpel itself would snap. Her flesh would rip.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's just not going to work at all. But you know what?
But visually, it looked awesome.
Mm-hmm.
It looked cool having Michael standing there just holding her off the ground as her shoes fall and stuff. And also, I was going to mention earlier, just kind of a quick little thing. The mask, a lot of people say that the mask is a little bit like weird looking in this movie, and it's they don't quite like it as much as the original. By the way, this is the original mask. This is just like this. Deborah Hill would have it like she kept it like under her mattress or something, so like it sort of like ruined the mask, and so they had to like redo things on the mask, and so that's why it has that really weird kind of yellowish hue to it, and then they had to like redo something to the hair too. That's why it looks a lot different, but it is actually the original mask though, which is kind of neat.
It still has the same shape, which I'd say is one of the bigger factors.
And honestly, like I think in a lot of ways, I might think that the mask in 2, even though it's the same mask, I think the look of it in 2, I actually in some ways find creepier than the original, which is a little bit
just
weird.
the fact that it's a little bit dirtier.
Yeah.
It's not clean like the first one was.
Yeah,
so.
and I think it kind of adds that little bit of kind of like what the new one's doing this year is it's sort of adding that little that age to it, and it's kind of cool. But yeah, I do just going back just for a second. I love the scene where Dr. Loomis has his gun and they're in the car together, and then he's like, go back to the hospital, and then he's like, I'm not obligated to do that, sir. And then he's like, oh yeah, well, and he like shoots out the window or whatever, and you see the car, and then like turns around and goes back. Like that's so. I've always laughed at that. But
Dr. Loomis is
a little
nutty.
He's so good. But yeah, so then back to the hospital, like you talked about, the nurse getting picked up. Really, visually it looks cool. It doesn't make sense, but visually it looks awesome. And I love sort of like Lori going down the hallway, and then she like looks up, and then she's like, hey, what are you doing or whatever. And then all of a sudden Michael just shows up out of nowhere. Because you have to think, like, this is the first time she has seen Michael Myers since she saw him shot off the back thing. So then just to have him come around the corner and just stab the nurse, like it's a really cool review, and just like review. But just seeing him come around the corner and like and just stab it's just like, and then look on Laurie's face when she's seeing it happen, it's just always got me.
And
it's cool.
But then immediately following is probably one of the weaker plot points is the fact that Laurie's running away, trying to look for an exit, while passing 2, maybe 3 different exit signs. Like, she has like the option to go left or right. She goes right, and left had an exit sign, and it's just like, you see exit sign in the background. She walks right by a door that says fire exit, and she's just like wild, being like, I don't know where to go. It's like, look at the sign.
Yeah, unless like, it could have been something as simple as like they were filming the movie and like they just didn't cover up the exit signs. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it just in the movie it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, it's kind of funny.
That chase though, I think that's specifically just to have a chase. I think there is there's a lot of cool things happening in that chase though, like when she like gets in the elevator and she's like shutting, and he's just walking towards her, and then he like puts his hand in the elevator door and then just kind of like pulls his hand back out and lets it shut, and then like just the way it was lit, it was all red and stuff, it was cool. And then the shot of him slowly walking down the stairs, it was really cool. There's a lot of visually cool shots, and then sort of following the events of that, I do like there's a couple kills that kind of happen just before this. There's the one where he stabs the girl in the eye with the syringe, or
technically he stabs him in the temple.
It wasn't that's true.
He stabbed the doctor in the eye and then stabbed her in the temple.
Yes, and then there was the blood draining
Yeah.
which
you just find.
yeah,
Didn't actually show it.
I guess it's like he's
think that's
draining
fine.
his blood, I guess. And then
The one thing I did find weird was like the EMT guy, slips on the blood in that
and then
scene,
it's,
and then when Laurie like gets away, she's hiding in the car, but then he shows up
and he gets in the car,
and he gets in the car, and then he's just like, it's
yeah, he's like talking to her, and he's like, he almost seems like he's like, out
he's
of it,
not
like
even talking to her. She's talking to him, and he's just like,
Doesn't he say something?
No, he doesn't say
He doesn't say
a word to
anything.
her.
Okay.
Yeah, and so it's like, at that point, is he dead? Is he just passed out? Like, what's going
Yeah,
on?
because he and obviously the excuse is it's his car, just happens to be his car. That way he can pass out or whatever onto the horn, and
Yeah.
does that for Michael or whatever. But get the reasoning behind it. But it's for the movie's sake, it's sort of like, I don't think I've ever quite understood that scene. Leave a comment, those of you watching. You kind of let us know, like, I've never understood that, and then also. Sort of following this after the horn starts going, and then she gets out of the car, and Loomis. This is the part that's always bugged me every single time I've watched it.
The movie.
Yeah, and every single time I've watched this movie, even as a kid, I always was kind of like, why can't? So I guess in a way, I get why she kind of can't scream. She can't, like, I don't know, like she's
There's not. Because she was talking.
Yeah. So
throughout
if
the
she
movie.
wasn't talking throughout the movie, I would have maybe been like, oh, well, she was unconscious for a while and she hasn't tried to talk, and so she's like so scared that she can't really talk.
Yeah.
But she has talked, and so she goes to like try and scream, but she's like crying, and so it's like, you can't tell me that she can't scream because she's
Like,
crying. If she's crying,
Literally,
like-
they could have easily like made that scene make sense by like when the doctors were talking to her, being like, because she did get choked by Michael in the first Halloween, to be like, you can talk, but because you got choked, you won't be
You
able
can't
to
scream or
like
something.
Your voice can't get that loud or something
Yeah.
like that. They could have just added some dialogue like that.
Yeah.
That would have just made sense.
yeah, because I guess in a way that kind of could be the case here. Like maybe she couldn't
Yeah.
scream, like she physically couldn't, but then she was
Then
able to
she
kind of do it
does right after the door
right
closes,
after the door
and it's
closes,
like-
and it's sort of convenient for the movie.
Yeah.
But then so then she runs up to the door, right, and then they open it for her, right? Is that how it works, or do they go out and get it?
Yeah. She runs up
It's just
to
been a
it, I
while.
think.
Yeah. So
I think.
then she goes up to the door. She goes inside, and they. Another thing too, I kind of would have been cool because of the plot point being their siblings. You never have a moment where she finds out that her brother is Michael Myers.
That's true.
No
Yeah.
impact there. I think if you were to add that plot point in there, you could have had a really cool moment where she's like, "What? Like, that's my brother? Are you kidding me?"
Yeah,
Because then you
that
could have
would
had
be
like
cool.
maybe like a cooler showdown at the end,
Mm-hmm.
where it's like, "Oh, this is my brother." Like that makes sense. But it's always kind of bummed me out that they brought in that plot point and then didn't really do anything with it. They just did it for shock. But oh, I'm sorry. Am I boring you?
Yes.
But yeah, so and then so they let her in, and then Michael shows up. I do like the shot
Yeah,
where
where he just straight walks through the door.
he just walks through the glass, and
Yeah, it's
then
pretty
just like
cool.
the music, it's so cool. And then
They
and
shoot him
and
some
throughout the
more.
whole movie, he has like the almost like a squinty like look the whole time, and so it kind of
Yeah.
adds to like the shadow and stuff. He always looked cool to me in the movie. But anyway, yeah. So goes through the door, and then they put him down, and then for some reason the cop decides he wants to go up to him and say, "Well, he's not breathing, so he's dead, I guess." And then he goes up to it, even though he just said, "Don't go near him." I guess it's physically impossible for someone to hold their breath in this universe. I don't know, but so he's holding his breath. The killer is holding his breath, and then he grabs him and then slits his throat, and then he gets up and they have the final little chase to the hospital,
Yeah.
and they go into the room, which is probably the best scene of the movie in my opinion, where they shoot out, or she shoots out both of his eyes, and
Yeah.
then he's holding him and the blood coming down. I love that. It just visually looks
Yeah.
cool.
She just happens to have expert aim. And
Yep,
shoot
hits him both
eyes.
But you could like almost
Which
see
is
his
fine.
eyes in it, so it almost like brings in like he's bleeding, and so he starts like holding his eyes, and it kind of brings that more human aspect to
Yeah.
him. And then he's swinging it. You still have the scalpel?
At this point, he has his kitchen there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I could, for some reason, when I was thinking about the scene of him swinging, for some reason I saw this couple and I don't know why.
Yeah. And then they play a little game of like musical chairs being like,
they're like turning the things on,
things on,
which is really cool. I do like that scene. Like the music's amping up too throughout the whole scene,
Yeah.
and then like he's like, get out, and then she runs out, and then I love the line, and it gives me chills like every single time I watch it, and even thinking about it, I just love like when he like right as he's about to turn the lighter, he's like, it's time, Michael, and then he like flips the light, and just, the whole explosion happens, and then Lori runs out, and she's hiding behind the boxes, and seeing him come out on fire was really cool.
That was really awesome.
And then him falling over, and then dying.
This
and,
probably was written to be the death of Michael
This is
Myers.
it.
He's
That's
supposed to be
what
dead.
he said.
Yeah.
Like John Carpenter stated, this was the end for Michael Myers.
Yeah.
That was the whole point of this. And he falls over, and they grab Lori, and they're transporting her to another hospital.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, like a majority of the people are dead in the hospital now, so yeah, I guess you have to.
You know, because for some reason a hospital in the middle of the
Is
night
the emptiest.
in the middle of Halloween night
Yep.
is only staffed with like 8 people.
Yeah. And 2 of them are
Just
EMTs who want to have sex with women, I guess. I don't know.
It's like, oh, it's just Halloween night. Literally nobody needs us on Halloween night.
Yeah. And then it does. Yeah. Whatever. And then the
It's
final
fine.
shot is him roasting on the ground, and then and then cuts to black.
Michael's
and there's credits.
dead.
Michael's dead.
The end of the
Dead.
Halloween movies, or so we thought.
Yeah. And then